This week on the Timelapse Show, one of the keys to time-lapse photography is being in the right place at the right time, and using the best pre-production tools can help you know where and when to be to get the exact shot that you want. Let's talk about that right now. Welcome, fellow time-lapsers, to show number 5 for the week beginning July 15th, 2018. This week we do have some more news to share, so let's get right into it by discussing the latest in time-lapse development. Google this week revealed that they have a new software update for the Google Clips camera. This new software update has just added time-lapse capabilities to these cameras. Reading straight out of the news, it says the new time-lapse mode will allow users to capture a continuous stream of everything the camera sees and condense it into a fast-forwarding time-lapse. Well, okay, that's a time-lapse camera, just like what the GoPro does. The news article says that Google says that the time-lapse mode can be accessed right off of the settings now in the Google Clips app. So if you have a Google Clips camera and you've been wanting time-lapse functionality, you can now get that through a software update. Now, if you're interested in purchasing a Google Clips camera, the time to act is now, and by now I mean now, because the camera is normally $249, but through July 17th, the camera is $169. So it's a great time to get quite a deal on a camera. Now, again, as I've mentioned before, when I report news like this does not quantify an endorsement from me. This does not mean I've actually used the camera. I've never touched a Google Clips camera in my life, but I want to make sure everybody knows that if you're interested in that particular camera, a little small, about the size of a GoPro, it's on a good sale right now, so it might be worth checking out if you're interested. And most of all, they now do time-lapse, so to go check it out. So that said, that's pretty much the news of the week. Not a lot else going on here in the heat of the summertime. So let's get straight into our main topic for the show, which is pre-production planning for a time-lapse. As I said at the top of the show, one of the tricks of being a good time-lapse photographer is knowing where and when to be, and doing a little bit of research ahead of time is going to really help you to accomplish that the best that you possibly can. Now, you can go up and just randomly show up to places with a time-lapse camera and get some amazing things. I'm not taking that out. But sometimes when we look at scenery, we say, I really want to be here at the right time. And just by using a few tools, which I'll be demoing today, you can better be, again, at the right place, at the right time, in the right conditions to get your best work. So one of the things that we need to do, purely for sake of discussion, is we need to set up some scenarios. Again, just so that we can have something to talk about. When you're a photographer, when you're a time-lapse photographer or time-lapse video producer, there are a lot of different things that you can do. You can be doing scenic daytimes. Last week we were doing driving shots. You can be capturing people. All sorts of things that you can do as a time-lapse video producer. What you need to do is figure out which one of those things do I want to do, and then let's find the planning tools to make the most of that. So for instance, like I said, for some scenarios, for sake of discussion in today's show, let's say that you want to do some really cool both sunset time-lapse, and you want to do some astronomy, some stars time-lapse at night. With those things in mind, there are a few tools that we're going to go through today. So my first big suggestion is when you're out and about, if you're a photographer like me, you're always looking for great scenery and you're trying to keep an eye out for places that can make good shots. So a lot of times I come out here and I'm walking by this spot with my dog in the evenings. And as I look out on this field, I notice this could be a really cool place to do a time lapse. I mean, let's kind of analyze the scenery a little bit. I've got this nice grass field, and at the time during the springtime, the grass was really tall, so I'd kind of get this really cool, wavy grass effect in the foreground. In the back, I've got nice trees. I've got a rustic barn. Everything looked like it'd be a really good spot for a time lapse. I've got this nice big sky that I can utilize for stars. This is going to be a good spot. So now, what I didn't realize at the time was that at night things look really different here. So for instance, back behind this barn, there's a big power station. And in order for them to keep the power station safe and secure, there's a ton of lights over there. And anytime you've got lights in the foreground, they're going to take away the emphasis. They're going to really screw up your camera's ability to look at the stars above. You need it to be dark. And that's what I was hoping for. So I didn't notice the giant bank of lights right over there. Also, if I take the camera and I rotate 180 degrees, I'm coming into a residential neighborhood. And at the front of the residential neighborhood are these lights that will turn on and off, kind of whatever their random programming ends up being. But what that does is it takes the foreground of the shot and it just turns it into a big strobe of flashing lights, which does not, you don't want that to go. Now, in the end, I was able to kind of make the shot work. It's not one of my favorites, but I tried to do the best that I could with it. But the point being, had I come out here at the time that I wanted to take the time lapse, which was night, I would have been able to quickly notice that it wasn't the ideal spot and I should spend my time trying to find a better one. Again, the point I really want to get across here is you need to visit the location, not just the location itself, but visit the location at the time of day that you are planning to shoot so that you can see exactly what they look like at that time. Because just because something looks great in the daytime does not mean it's going to look great in the nighttime when you go ready to do some time lapsing. Now, anyone that's done some nighttime, whether it be astronomy photography or nighttime time-lapse photography, knows that one of the biggest enemies of the sky, as far as photography goes, is the moon. So one of the things we really have to look at is where is the moon going to be on any given point in time, and how is that going to impact my shot? So one of the things that we're going to want to talk about here is an app that I use. It's called Moon Phase. This is something that I can use on the go so I can always tell what's going on. So for instance, today as I'm recording the show on Sunday, July 15th, I can see that the moon is going to rise at 6:46 a.m. and it's going to set at 10:57 p.m. I can also see the sunrise times. I can see when it's going to be, what the phase of that moon is going to be. And I can look for this information for, any day of the month, depending on what's going on. And I can look any day this week to see exactly what's going to be happening as I head out to do, various time-lapse shots. So for instance, I'll be in a great spot on Friday, but I notice that the moon is, it's kind of a first quarter moon. It's going to rise at 2:36 p.m. It's going to set at 1:30 a.m. So the time, if I'm up at 11 o'clock to get this shot, I'm going to have to deal with the moon at least a little bit. So one of the next tools that I use, and this really is a key important tool for planning out time-lapse photography and video work, is that of Google Earth. Now, a lot of people think of Google Earth as kind of the same thing as what Google Maps are in a browser, but no, it's completely different. I mean, it works in a very similar way, but a lot more features. So what you need to do is you need to go and you need to Google Earth. So that sounds a bit redundant, but Google Earth. And especially if you're coming at this from a photographic point of view, you need to look for Google Earth Pro. Now, this is a free download. There's no cost for this, but go and check it out, get it downloaded, and then check out some of the tools you can do. So we're going to flip over here to my screen to show you how this all works. So here we are. This is the very beginning of Google Earth. I mean, we're looking here at the United States. I can click and rotate and drag this thing anywhere, but I want to do a specific search for the spot that I want to go. So I know that I want to do a time lapse this Saturday at Cape Perpetua, which is a state park just south of Yachats, Oregon, right on the coast. So I'm going to come up here to my search field, and because I really don't know the address for Cape Perpetua. It's an area, not a set spot. But let's go to CHATS. That's Oregon. Let's search for that. And now my globe is going to take me to Yachats, Oregon. Okay, here it comes. And here we are now on the coast. So I know from experience, from having visited this place several times, that it is right down. See this little kind of patch of area right here? That's where we're going to go. So I'm going to zoom in on this. A couple things that I can do here. First of all, if I take, you see this little man icon up here? We're going to click on that, and that's going to show me all the streets available to see a street view on. So I can drag him right here where the street is blue and drop him off. And that's going to show me what the conditions look like from the road. And if I click down here, I can scroll around 360 degrees so I can see exactly what this looks like from the ground. I can click and drive here, quote unquote drive. But I can look around and see exactly what things look like. So that way, if I want to plan a specific spot that there's a road associated with, I can do that. And now this is just like what you can do in Google Maps on a browser. But we're going to take it a step further. So I'm going to exit the street view here and kind of go back to my aerial. So now it's put me at the parking lot, which is right where I want to be, at the top of Cape Perpetua. This is where we just were kind of looking at the street view on these roads down here. But I'm going to take this little road right up to the top, and you'll notice there's a parking lot. That's where I'm going to park my car. But there's a lot of trees from the parking lot. So what I want to do is I want to find this little stone shack right here, right on this giant cliff overlooking the ocean. So that's kind of where I want to zoom in on. So I'm using my zoom in feature here. And now I can kind of look around. Let me see if I can put my little guy on here. So here we are from the shack. Now what it's doing, because there's no roads here, is it's entering what is called ground level view. Now the way to think of this view is consider being in a spot. It has the geography all kind of set in place here. As you can see, as I scroll around, it can show me exactly what it's looking like. But there's no buildings, there's no trees. It's pretty much just geographical landscape. So from this ground view, I can look around and I can see the scenery from all different sides as far as what I would see from this point up there without ever leaving my office or leaving my computer. Now, it gets even better because I can plan on a very specific time of day. If you notice up here at the top, there's a couple of buttons. The two that I really wanted to clue you in on, first of all, this right here, this is going to take you back in history. Anytime in history, from today backwards, you can go and see exactly where the sun is going to be and all the conditions as far as light that exist at any point in time. The other thing I want to make sure that you know about is this button, which is going to allow you to set a specific time so that you can see what's happening. Now, I'll kind of walk you through this because that might sound confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this. I want to be out on the coast on the 14th. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to set my perimeters to the 14th. I'm going to probably get here around 6:30 at night. Okay. So now this is what it's going to look like actually on the date I'm going to be there at 6:30 at night. So this is where the sun is going to be. This is how the light's going to look on the places around me. Granted, it's not showing me where the trees are, but I can at least get a sense of what's going on. Now, again, this is at 6:30 at night, but if I click up here on this little bar, so here's 6:30, 7:30, I can now see exactly when and where that sun is going to set. So, in comparison to the scenery around me, I know that this is where the sun is going to be going down. So what time is it going to sizzle? It's going to sizzle somewhere around 9 o'clock. Sizzle meaning where it appears like the sun is going into the water. So that's an effect that I like to capture. And now I know exactly when it's going to be, and I know where that sun is going to be so that I can plan accordingly with my motion capture stuff that I use. What time does it get completely dark? Let's find out. We're going to tweak this a little bit. Sun is down now. A little bit of light. Okay, so right here at 10:30 at night, I know the sun is completely down. And if I switch, if I rotate my view over here, I know where the Milky Way is going to be when it comes out. If the clouds allow me to shoot it, I know exactly where it's going to be. And now this isn't just from Cape Perpetua. I can put in any spot on the planet, and I can put in any date and any time and see exactly where everything is going to be. So that way I can plan accordingly. So this is a fantastic tool that you can use to help you see exactly what's going on, again, from any location on the great planet Earth. Remember, street view is going to show you photographically what the streets look like, but ground view is going to show you geographically what's going on in the area from any spot, so that you can use this really as a great planning tool for anything that you're about to shoot. I would highly recommend downloading the software, give it a try, kind of go in and play, see what you can do with it, but it really helps plan shots ahead of time so you know exactly what is going on. The last thing that we need to plan for is that of weather. The one thing that you cannot ever really plan for. One of the things that I do is I use my app on my phone. I use the AccuWeather app. It really can show me what's going on, especially from an hour by hour basis, so that I have a good sense of what's going on. Now, keep in mind, this is all weather predictions. I don't know how many times that I've looked down at my app. I've seen, no precipitation for the next 2 hours while I hear the rain falling on my roof. And I'm like, really? But it can at least give you a ballpark to let you know what, tonight it's going to be pouring rain, so not going to be the best time to go shoot time-lapse. But when you use that in conjunction with knowing where everything is at with Google Maps and Google Earth, when you use that in conjunction with knowing where the moon is at, you can really get a good sense of the conditions. So the question is, I've done my homework. I've done all of this pre-production on this particular shot. Is it going to work? That's what we need to go find out. So let's get in the car, let's drive out to the location, and let's see if all of these things actually happened the way that I foresaw.
So here we are on location exactly as planned. You can see my assistant, my very good assistant, is here with me, helping me out. My less conspicuous mic is back in the car, and I do not want to hike all the way up and leave my cameras unattended to get it. So we're going to have to deal with this guy right here and hope it's not making too much noise or looks too wonky on the frame. But let me show you what I've got set up and how my pre-production planning helped pull this off. So we are up here. I'm going to try not to point the camera right into that setting sun, but we are right up here. We are at the very top of Cape Perpetua. This is called the Stone Shack. I think I showed you the kind of little representation of this on the map earlier, but I'm pretty much here right on the edge of a cliff, just south of Yachats, Oregon. But beautiful spot, beautiful night, exactly as I had hoped and planned. So let's take a look at the setup. So I've got two different cameras going, soon to be three once I finish recording this, and I can set up this camera that I'm filming with. But I've got a GoPro that's set up that's doing kind of a side shot over here. And over here, I've got my GH4, which is on a SERP motion controller, SERP Genie motion controller. It's kind of doing a panning into the sun, so it will be turning as the sun is setting, so we can kind of get that shot as well. The big thing to note is from my planning. So the moon, first of all, we know from the planning the moon's only at 3%, and it's setting shortly, so it's going to be setting into fog. I probably just blinded everybody. So that's not a factor, but looking at that ahead of time was definitely a plus, so I know what was going on from there. The weather has been beautiful, and while yes, it's been mostly clear today as expected, this little bit of fog and these few clouds that we have are going to make for, I hope, some really cool shots. So all of that planning that we did as far as location, as far as weather, as far as the moon, as far as all the different things we wanted to look at is definitely going to help. And let's take a look at the end results.
So now it's time for this week's question of the week. What I want to know is, I just showed you the tools that I use for planning out some of my shots, but what tools do you use to help you plan exactly when and where to be to get the best shots? If you use different tools than what I do, let me know. Put those down in the comments, send those to me at show@thetimelapseshow.com, so that way we can all learn and grow together. But again, what tools do you use to help create time-lapse that is awesome and inspiring? So now it's time for this week's time-lapse shot of the week. One of the things that really attracted my eye when I was looking through some of the more recent time-lapses that were shot is this clip, mostly because I was just barely in this area a couple weeks ago with the drive we talked about in last week's show. This is in Yuma County, Arizona. This was taken on July 9th, and they had a huge, violent storm come through. It's called a haboob. We don't get haboobs here in Oregon, so I wasn't familiar with the term, but apparently these are a violent dust storm, which are really interesting to watch. But here's a quick clip from this haboob. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can watch it as well. But take a look at this clip. Let me know what you think. It's just fascinating to see what Mother Nature has in store for us when she really gets worked up. So that's it for this week. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Keep in mind, you can follow us in between episodes on all of our different social media accounts. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. So go check out those accounts and follow us there. But remember, you can send your questions and answers to our question of the week to show@thetimelapseshow.com. If you don't want to type and you'd rather just talk to us and have your voicemail featured on a future episode, give us a call at 541-321-0472. Again, you can answer the question of the week, or you can ask your own time-lapse related questions, then we can answer those on upcoming shows. If you're listening to us on the audio version, remember you can go to iTunes and leave us a review. That helps us rate the show. That helps others to find it as well, so that's very helpful. Thanks for watching and listening. Everyone have a great week. I'll see you next week. And with that, go grab a camera and speed up the world. See you next week.